This is Noble Meyer, and you're listening to Swimming Upstream.
Swimming Upstream, a new episode of our podcast show on the Fish on First podcast channel dedicated to prospect coverage in the Miami Marlins organization. Usually you hear our guy Alex Carver of Fish on the Farm leading you into a new episode. I am, of course, Eli Sussman, founder of Fish on First. We got Kevin Barral co-hosting with me, and this is going to be the first of a bunch of interviews that we tackle with Marlins prospects over the course of this offseason, when we're checking in with a guy that is not yet in his offseason yet, because Karson Milbrandt is staying busy in the Arizona Fall League. 2022 Marlins draft pick. In 2025, he had, I would say, his best season as a pro so far, and is still going for a couple more weeks. So we're checking in with Karson from out in the desert. How's it going, Karson? Thanks for making the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going good, just soaking in the last few weeks of the season and just hanging out.
Yeah, just a couple weeks left for him, with playing along with all the other Marlins prospects on the Mesa Solar Sox out there in Arizona. Now, we're talking to you on Sunday, just the day after the Major League Baseball season ended. I guess one of the downsides of being out in the Fall League, for all the positives, is that it conflicts with the baseball postseason. How much of the postseason did you actually get to watch this time, considering your game schedule out there?
I got to watch a couple games. It's kind of weird because if we had a night game, we wouldn't be able to watch. But luckily for us, every single game this week was a day game, so 1:30 game time. So I got to watch the past couple games, which has been pretty nice.
And Game 7 was probably about as crazy. Listen, I can remember for Game 7 in the World Series was about as insane and dramatic as any that we've seen. So, I mean, what was the vibe like there from where you were watching it?
Well, I was hoping for the Blue Jays to win, so I was pretty excited for most of the game. It was looking promising, and then the ninth inning happened, and then it was kind of a sweat from there. But obviously, the Dodgers ended up winning, but can't be mad. It was a great game.
Yeah, well, you're in a weird position because it's pretty soon. Hopefully, you're going to be a big leaguer trying to compete for a World Series. But you went out and said you were rooting for the Blue Jays. Why particularly were you? What made you come to that decision?
I just kind of felt like they were the underdog. I think it'd be cool to win. The Dodgers are kind of the super team, so I think it'd be cool to watch the Blue Jays win.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. Karson, most of your year was at high A with Beloit, but you did finish the year in Double A. It was a couple starts, not nothing too crazy, but just what did you take away from that level? And then how does that competition you saw in Double A compare to what you've seen so far in the Arizona Fall League, where a lot of those guys from Double A will probably are at the Fall League?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a jump. If you make mistakes, they definitely jump all over it. But, part of moving up the ladder is execution. So if you execute and stick to your plan, I think you're going to succeed. But, same goes for here. A lot of these guys I have faced or seen or at least heard of, they're all good players. So you just really got to stick to the plan and execute your pitches.
I'm curious, Karson, looking back on it, what would you consider the best game that you pitched this entire year? You had an ERA of 3, you had a gazillion strikeouts. If you were to look back and try to pinpoint a game, what do you think you were the most dominant? A day when you had the command going and your stuff going and you just felt like you were totally in control?
Yeah, I'd have to say it was against the Timber Rattlers. I think it was in August, but that team was just stacked with a lot of good hitters, a lot of prospects, and I kind of stuck it to them, which is always fun.
So
let me see if I can pull up the game logs for that really quick back in August to make sure I can double check it. Oh yeah, 5 shutout innings, 1 hit, 10 Ks, and only 1 walk in there. That is about as sexy a line as it could get to. But the thing is, so now that you're kind of climbing up the minor league ladder, definitely when it's at the lower levels, I understand that you guys are focused on development, where that's kind of where you're just looking to check certain boxes when you go out there to have a successful day. Where are you right now when it comes to that, as a guy that you're getting closer to a level where the results actually do matter?
Right.
And you just pinpointed again where the results were awesome there. So yeah, what is that balance between what makes you feel best when you get through a start, when trying to weigh the checking the boxes from a developmental standpoint versus actually getting outs in one of those games?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is always to go out there and win. It's a team game. I think if the team wins, it's just a good look on everybody. It's always nice when the team wins. Vibes are good. But for me, it's just kind of been like taking catch play and then like days I'm not pitching a little bit more serious. You're coming from high school where you're just kind of like getting loose, but now it's like it's hard to develop pitches whenever you're facing against guys that are obviously trying to get you out of the game or knock you up a little bit. But yeah, so that was huge for me this year, just really honing in on catch play, working on my development away from the mound, just like getting my pitches down and then, putting it together in the game. So that's been big for me.
One of the reasons you're in the AFL is your innings limit, or innings that were limited, better said, early in the year, coming back from an arm issue. Just talk a little bit about that. What was that issue, and just how much have you developed physically from draft day in 2022 up until right now?
Yeah, so about in the middle of spring training, my arm was just pretty beat up, had some inflammation in it. So there's really no reason to push it. So I took it took like 2 weeks, a week off, and then, had to like build up from 2 innings, missed a little bit of time. But in terms of development from now to high school, it's just been different. It's like, especially my first 2 years, I guess, they're big on like, you're not going to throw anything else. You're going to get this changeup down. But now it's like, if I had a gross knuckleball, I could go out there and throw a knuckleball. It's like, you're going to go out there and compete with your best pitch. If they're always open to adding new pitches, working on you with new stuff. So it's been pretty exciting.
Okay. Karson, watching you pretty closely, I've noticed some, like over time, some subtle changes in your mechanics. And we actually have some little footage just so people can know what I'm referring to right here. This is from the fall league about the thing that's like most distinct to me is this, when you get started out of the windup, that big step that you take to the first base side. And I was trying to think of like where I've seen that before, because I was having trouble like coming up with other examples of guys who do that. So it was working for you this year, and it feels like it was more pronounced this year with that step you take when you start that windup. So tell us, how do you come up with that? Why do you think that? Why'd you make that change this year?
Honestly, there was one. Okay, it was starting. It was in Appleton versus Wisconsin, the Timber Rattlers. It's earlier in the year, but I got rushed and I like had no time to do my stuff. And it was like, it's supposed to rain out. All of a sudden we're playing the game. Go get hot. Gotta go get hot. And I ended up just like, I was in a warm up, just super out of sync. Didn't really feel good. Wasn't really loose. I took a bigger step and it felt really good. And then ever since then, I just kind of started executing and just kind of doing it.
So it wasn't anything from coaching or one of your teammates. It's just like something accidental.
Yeah, just something that kind of clicked, and I was like, "Oh, this actually feels pretty good." Like, see if it translates, and then yeah.
What were the coaches saying when they saw you do that all of a sudden in game?
They were just like, "Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You're going out there, you're pitching good, so just keep on doing what you're doing."
Talk a little bit about your changeup. You've worked on this on the pitch since turning pro, but with your additions of the gyro slider and the sweeper, you haven't really needed it. Do you still plan on tinkering with the changeup, or are you pretty happy with where you are now with that one not really needing it in your arsenal, but definitely a pitch that you could have there up your sleeve?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm still working on it. It's just kind of it's going to be something where it's in my back pocket at all times. That's going to be the nice pitch to have, just to have. But yeah, I've been talking to Bill, our pitching coordinator, and a couple of the pitching coaches, where it's like, it's kind of hard to go out there and like, you're whiffing people, getting a lot of swing and miss, and it's like, oh, let's just throw a change up here. Like, just kind of don't really know what it's going to do. But yeah, definitely trying to get that in. Definitely going to have it.
Right. I was thinking about that just because this year in particular, you were amazing against right-handed batters, and usually that's when the changeup comes in against lefties to counteract them in that way. So is that something where you think it's going to be that critical piece for you to be just as good against lefties as you are against righties?
I think it is, yeah. Just something to get them off the heater and the gyro for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's something that became more people began to notice it publicly towards the end of the year is the Marlins in the minor league levels. They started changing the pitch calling process, where all of a sudden a lot of the pitch calls were coming from the dugout and the coaches
Right.
instead of from the catchers themselves. As far as we know, this was like the first year where that was the main idea in the minors, and they did it at the majors at the very end of the year. Got a lot of commotion, but actually it worked pretty well in the majors, and actually it worked well across a lot of levels of the minors this year. Did you notice the difference when you were receiving the calls? That did it feel any different compared to previous years based on where the coaches were kind of directing you to go? And did you end up using your pitches any differently this year than in years past because of that?
Honestly, I think it just kind of goes back to the game plan. You're getting your pre-start meeting. You go over the game plan. You know what you're going to do and how you're going to execute it. And then at the end of the day, you're the one throwing the ball. So if you're, I think whatever the best pitch is, it's going to be the one you're throwing with 100% conviction. So it's like if you don't have that, it's probably not going to be your best pitch. So at the end of the day, it comes down to what you're feeling. But for the most part, you're on the same play, on like same game plan. So it's pretty nice.
And now that you're in the fall league, has it gone back to the catchers calling the shots instead of the coaches?
It has, yeah. Which is, same thing. Same game plan, still on the attack, going out there and trying your best. So,
got it.
So I know the AFL is using the ABS system. I don't know if I think it's the challenge system. Just talk about a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on it? Because it's coming to Major League Baseball in 2026. So we saw a preview of it in spring training for the big leaguers. So what are your thoughts on it, having seen it now for quite a bit?
I've had it go both ways for me. I had it my first year in low A, but it was challenge. Yeah, so it was no challenge. It was full ABS Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday on it was challenge. But I've had it go both ways here. It's obviously super nice whenever it's there and the guy doesn't call it and you catch your nose. So. But I think it's pretty cool. It's something to hold the umpires honest. It's something, if they do miss a call, which sometimes it happens, everyone's human. It's nice to have that in your back pocket. So
I saw in your game today that it extended the game a little bit, that there was a challenge today with 2 strikes and 2 outs on the top of the 9th inning. And you guys are about to close out the game. It's called a strike. And the guy challenges it because why not? Because the game is going to be over anyway. And it got overturned and it's still held on to win. But that's an example of it where it could potentially really shift the entire game.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Also, it's honestly super cool to watch a guy challenge because everyone gets out of their chair and they go and look at the big scoreboard and it's like, oh, what's it going to be? And then if it's half an inch or less, it's super close. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, now that you're in the fall league, I did have questions about a couple of the guys that you're playing with down there. Your teammates with Starlin Caba, and he's been the shortstop for you guys for almost every day. He's been especially hot lately. I think he's going to be a fall-star selection if I had to guess next weekend. He's got this reputation of being, he's hitting extremely well right now, but he's got this reputation of being about as good defensively as anybody in the minors. Just from watching him when behind you on your start days, but also from the dugout when you don't start. Is there anything that sticks out where you're like, that's kind of what makes him special, what separates him from everybody else? That's all the humans that play shortstop.
Yeah, the kid's gonna be a stud. He's hitting home runs, he's hitting doubles, he's fielding this position like no one can. It's unbelievable. It's super nice to have behind you. But then yesterday, we're all watching the game. He's an awesome kid, super nice, fun to be around. But I got a bunch of good stuff to say about him. He's awesome.
Whoops. All right. Just talk about your manager, Aaron Lenhart. He's obviously with the Marlins. He's a literal scientist, but he's known for the torpedo bats. A lot of people knew him about that. Really, one of the most popular guys in baseball for maybe the first month of the season. What's it been like working with him? And just having that familiarity. Being in the same org.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Lenny's he definitely brings the energy. It's later in the year. Some guys, a little banged up, come back from injury. He definitely brings the energy here. Awesome guy, fun to be around. Super cool that he's with the Marlins as well. He's got that. He knows what you need to be doing. So he keeps you honest to it, and he's an awesome guy to talk to.
Okay. And just a couple more questions here with Karson Milbrandt here. one of the biggest stories in sports outside of anything going on in baseball is the scandal in the NBA with gambling going on from both players and coaches and guys getting arrested for that. And I mean, now that gambling is becoming more legalized in the US, it's touching every sport, including baseball. As a guy that's been in the organization a few years, I'm curious if the Marlins have had any like direct education with players in terms of what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do as a pro athlete. It's just that because the lines can be so blurry and the way that it can escalate if something weird happens can obviously get people in a lot of trouble.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in spring training and then before the fall league, they do, you have like a bunch of meetings. Obviously, big no-no to bet on baseball. Can't do that. They're pretty heavy on that. Like, I mean, I'm not a big sports bettor, so I couldn't really tell you. But, yeah, I mean, I got nothing for you, really. But they're pretty adamant on it. Like, obviously, can't bet on baseball. If you have any insight, can't tell anybody, that type of stuff. So.
All right, last one I got for you. If you had to pick one thing, what was the most important lesson you learned about yourself this season? How will you use that to go into next season?
Most important lesson, I think, just control the controllables. You know, you can't really change your guys' swing decision. You can't really change what happens after the ball leaves your hand, but you can prepare for that pitch. You can prepare for that game. Just control what you can control. I think that's just like for anything, honestly, even outside of baseball. Just do what you can do to prepare and be at your best, and then everything else will take care of itself.
100%.
Absolutely. Now, Karson, you last pitched a couple days ago. So what is your throwing schedule for the rest of the fall league, as far as you know?
I got 2 innings out of the 10 on Thursday, and then I got the All-Star game on Sunday.
Oh, so you already got confirmation that you're a Fall Stars guy this year.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Miami Marlins right-hander Karson Milbrandt, Mesa Solar Sox Fall Star, as we've just learned. Excited to watch you. And for people that aren't aware, they can stream all these games for free on the MLB site, but also now I think the Fall Stars game has like an extra platform to it. I believe it should be on MLB Network or something like that.
I was going to say MLB Network, yeah.
Yeah, something.
Cool.
So I guess even more people, whether it's back. Yeah, I guess the last thing I was curious about is I listened to one of your other interviews earlier on about how excited you were to do the fall league, and once you got like the opportunity to do it, how did but it's kind of a month and a half of unplanned pitching for, I guess, your family back home, your girlfriend, your friends. How are they all taking it that you're caught up in pitching for a lot deeper into the year than you would be otherwise?
Yeah, obviously they're super supportive. You know, they're going to support me no matter what. But my family's been out here a couple times. You know, they just kind of treat it as a vacation, get to watch me pitch. And then obviously you're in AZ, so kind of hard to complain. Like, I'm from Missouri, so right now it's about 40 degrees there. So when it's hot, sunny, and 90 every day, you know, they can't be too angry. But yeah, you know, they're super supportive, and couldn't ask for anything more.
So you have to go back to the cold after this?
I have to go straight. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty brutal, but yeah, unfortunately, I do have to go back to the cold.
Yeah, well, enjoy the rest of the fall league experience while you're out there. Hopefully,
Sure.
I guess you guys still mathematically live to get into the playoffs and to maybe win a championship as well, even if it's something small like that. It's the way you guys are playing lately. It seems like you are as dangerous as any team out there with the chance to do it.
Yeah, we got the talent for sure.
Okay, so I've been Eli Sussman along with Kevin Barral, Karson Milbrandt of the Miami Marlins joining us here on the show. So yeah, we'll keep following you as we always do out there the rest of the fall league, and best of luck. Thanks again for making the time for us, Karson.
Yeah, thanks for having me.